Hey guys, so I'm back and I'm here to do a quick review and swatch video for some items I picked up from the Charlotte Tillbury line, which is now available in the US through Beautylish, Nordstrom, and Bergdorf Goodman. You could always get these delivered to the US if you order through Selfridges.com, which is a British website, but the shipping was expensive and now you're able to grab these items. And I picked up a few of these things and I know people were wondering what my thoughts were on the line, so I'm going to share that with you and also share some swatches as well as a tutorial for this look that I am wearing. This is going to be a separate video, so I will link it right here right now. So if you click here, you will see the video for this tutorial just showing the products in action. And now I'm just going to jump into my thoughts of these products. So as I said before, the products are now available in the US via Beautylish.com, which is where I would recommend you grab these products, just because Beautylish has the best customer service. They have really fast shipping. So if you are not stacking up on points through Nordstrom or Bergdorf Goodman, then definitely grab your items from Beautylish. I am truly pleased and just thoroughly impressed with their customer service. Their packaging is awesome. They pack with their products, they package them with love. You see the attention to detail. You get lovely little notes left in your packages, you know, just saying little cute things, and I absolutely love that personal touch. And the shipping is extremely fast and it's free over $35. So this is coming from California and I will get my products the next day if I order early enough in the morning. If not, I'll get it the second day, which is phenomenal. And this is free shipping we're talking about. It comes really quickly. I cannot complain at all. Beautylish has kind of spoiled me in the shipping department. But of course, you can also grab these off Nordstrom and Bergdorf Goodman. I am not sure if they're available in store as yet, but definitely check your local stores. You know, make a call before you go in, but they're definitely available online for your purchase. And for the rest of the world, especially our British lovelies, these are available at Selfridges and Selfridges.com. And Selfridges does a lot of worldwide shipping, so check if your country is one that they will ship these to. Now, one thing I always love to touch on is price, to see if it's accessible to you. Maybe you're on a budget or maybe you like to splurge, so I always like to talk about prices. And Charlotte Tilbury products are a bit pricey. They are high-end makeup, so they're in more high-end department stores, and they do have the price to match. The blushes themselves are, let's double check, $40 for these blushes, and they contain 0.28 ounces of product. So you're getting a typical size blush, but it's going to be $40. So we're thinking more along the lines of Chanel prices, Dior prices, maybe even going up to Guerlain and Gucci prices. So think about the prices that way. They are high-end prices. The palettes themselves, well, the quads are $52 for the palette, which is again a very pricey palette. And a big comparison that is made for the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows is against Tom Ford. So they say that the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows are similar to the Tom Ford eyeshadows, which the color scheme is kind of sneakily similar, but the Tom Ford eyeshadows are very expensive. The quad for Tom Ford, each quad is $79, and then the Charlotte Tilbury is $52. So it sounds like you're saving 20-something dollars, but then when you check out the size comparison, the Charlotte Tilbury palettes contain 5.2 grams and the Tom Ford contains 10 grams. So you're getting double, pretty much double the amount of product in a Tom Ford palette as you do in a Charlotte Tilbury. So the Charlotte Tilbury palettes actually work out to be more expensive per ounce of eyeshadow than Tom Ford eyeshadows, believe it or not. The lipsticks themselves too are pretty pricey. They're $32 for 0.12 ounces of product, which is a typical lipstick size. So it's not the priciest lipstick on the market. There are much pricier lipsticks, but they are still a costly buy. So if price is an issue for you, these are not for the budget conscious. They're not the cheapest products on the market. So you're gonna pay definitely high-end prices for these products, but if you're okay with that, then you know, go for it. I also like to mention packaging when I do my reviews, and the Charlotte Tilbury line overall has a maroon and gold color scheme. And I love that because my high school colors were maroon and gold. You remember that, Woolmarians? Maroon and gold are colors. But the packaging is maroon and gold, so the boxes are maroon with gold accents, and the writing will be gold. I will say I expected the packaging to be a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more high-end because of the prices, but they do feel like a regular plastic packaging. And I do like the gold accents in the palette. Like, this is the blush palette, and you have a little gold trim around the palette with the Charlotte Tilbury you know, name printed on and a little star. So I think it's cute, but it's very lightweight. I just expected a little bit more luxury high-end design to the packaging. The eyeshadows also have that gold trim on the inside, and they're maroon overall with a mirror. And again, it's kind of lightweight. I would expect a little bit more sturdiness, a little bit more weight, a little bit more luxury in such a high-end product. And even the lipsticks come in a golden, like a rose gold theme packaging. It has Charlotte Tilbury printed on the tube. Comes out, the lipstick isn't actually printed with any logo or anything, and then it snaps closed, which it's all plastic. It feels very lightweight. Again, I would expect more from the line because it is so pricey. So let's just jump into the products now, because I know that's what you guys are waiting for, and I'm going to do swatches for each of the products, but I'm going to go over them really briefly to introduce you to the product itself and let you know what I think of the overall concept. So the Cheek to Chic Swish and Pop blushes come in 6 different shades, and each of the compacts come with 2 different colors. There's an outer ring that is more of a light shimmery shade in this particular color, and then the inner ring is a like a pop of color. So you're meant to use the outer color as just an overall cheek color, and then you use the middle color as a pop of color on the apples of your cheek. Now, a lot of people, I'm going to mention this, I'm going to just mention it and move on. A lot of people think this looks like a breast. Now, I don't know what kind of breast y'all are looking at, but this is a super big areola if that's what you're thinking. So I don't see it, I just see 2 circles of blush. So we're going to move on from that. So the first color up I have is Ecstasy, which is a shimmery light peachy combination. The outer ring is very light, kind of shimmery champagne peach, and then the middle shade has more of a pinky pop to it. And overall, the colors swatched together give you this very light peachy pink color. It's very shimmery, but it's not glittery. There aren't chunks of glitter in it, so it won't emphasize any pores or anything, but it's micro milled, it's very finely milled, so it doesn't accentuate like fine lines and wrinkles and, you know, pores, but it is a very light shade on my complexion. So personally, I don't like this as a blush color. I would more use this as a highlight, if anything. And even as a highlight, you have to be very careful on darker skin because it will give you kind of an ashy effect. So I think this color is probably best suited for light to fair. Light, fair, maybe medium, but medium has to be very careful too. It's just not a blush for darker skin. So in the swatch that I'm showing you, the top shade is the center shade, that pop shade. The middle shade is the outer rim, and then the bottom shade is the 2 shades swatched together. And again, I think it's a pretty color, but for darker skin, not so much. And the next shade up is Love is the Drug, which has a berry pink shade in the middle and then a lighter peachy shade on the outer ring. And this shade is not that glittery and shimmery as the Ecstasy shade. This one doesn't have as much of that sparkly glitter in it. But the outer shade is a golden light peachy color. The middle shade is that raspberry pink shade, and then swirled together they give you this beautiful peachy pink shade with a golden flash. And this one I think will work better on medium skin tone and darker skin tone. Maybe not super dark, but it does show up a lot better than Ecstasy. And this I can use as a blush. It's a very beautiful pinky corally blush, and people mention this is similar to NARS Orgasm. In the golden sheen, yes, but it's much more pink depending on how much of the pop shade you get. But this one I think is a much better color for darker skin. Again, the top shade is the pop shade, that bright pink. The middle shade is that champagne shade, and then the bottom shade are the three swatched together, or the two swatched together. Now the next shade up is Love Glow, which is a very, very light pale color. The center of the color is a light pinky, kind of almost bubblegummy pink shade. It's a very fair shade. And then the outer ring is that shimmery golden peach shade, which looks very gorgeous, and I think this will look great on light skin tones, light and fair skin tones. It would work great as a highlight on medium skin tones maybe, but as a blush shade, absolutely not. And it doesn't really show up on my skin all that well, so if you're darker skin, I would just skip this one altogether. But I'm gonna show you the swatches anyway. Again, the middle shade is that kind of bubblegum light pink shade, very pale, and then the outer ring is that shimmery champagne pinky peachy pinky shade, and then swirled together they give you this light pinky peach shade, but it's very, very faint on my skin. So yeah, this one I'd say is a skip. And I had to kind of dig at the colors, if you can tell in the up close view of the compact, to get the colors to actually show up. So I think this one is just too pale for darker skin. So last up in the blushes I picked up is the shade The Climax, and if you'll notice a lot of sexual undertone in the names of her products, which I think is more going along the line of sex and drugs and the bombshell kind of feel, and that's what she was really known for and really into. But this shade is a much more neutral color, a neutral combination. The outer ring is a bronzy shade with a little bit of a pink flash, and the center shade is a peachy shade with golden sheen to it. This one will show up on darker skin, and it will be a very natural looking blush. I am wearing it now, and I don't know if you can probably tell, probably not, but it's a very natural shade on me, and it works great as a natural blush. So if that's what you're into, that's what you like going for, which I actually do like that effect. I like a nice natural blush. I don't like anything that looks too fake, because dark skin, we're not gonna blush pink, bright pink. So when I use for my everyday blush, I use a very natural shade. So this one is a natural shade, and it does show up pretty nicely, and the outer ring is actually really great as a bronzy kind of terracotta color. So this one I actually like, and if you're interested in trying out the blushes as for darker skin, I think this one is a good option. So overall, on darker skin, I don't think the blushes are a hit. I don't think they're something you must have because they're not that spectacular. But if you were going to try any shades, I would say try Love is the Drug or The Climax for darker skin tones. The lighter skin tones can try any of the colors, I guess, because they're more geared towards a lighter skin. So now let's move on to the eyeshadows, which are $52 each, and they contain 0.18 ounces of products, which is going to drop you a little bit less than the average size of an eyeshadow on the market, which we're talking about MAC eyeshadows. These are 0.05 ounces each, and these are going to be 0.045 ounces each. So they're a little bit less than a typical eyeshadow, and $52 is it's a little bit much for the palette for 4 eyeshadows, but you do end up spending less than an average MAC, like say a MAC eyeshadow, because they're $13 each. So you can look at it that way, whichever way you need to look at it to justify it. But I mean, if you love the eyeshadows, then it may be worth it to you to check out. So the way she has her eyeshadows color coded on the back is the first shade is a prime shade, which I guess is an all over eye shade. The second is an enhanced shade, which I guess enhances the look. The third color is a smoke to smoke out. It's the deeper color in the palette. And then the fourth is a pop shade, which is tends to be a glittery shade, or just a shade that's a little bit different from the others to give a pop of dimension, just a pop of color on the lid. So the first palette up is the Rebel palette, which is a gorgeous palette with greens, and it has a deep greeny teal shade, which is really gorgeous. It has the lighter shade, the prime shade, is a shimmery, very light champagne shade. Great pigmentation, nicely pigmented. The second shade, the enhanced shade, is more of a, I would say, a seafoam green shade. It is not really a bright grass green. It's a seafoamy green shade. It has a satin finish. The prime shade also has a satin finish. The smoke shade is a deep, rich, creamy, teal green shade. It is really beautiful, and if you layer it over a really nice base, you will get this rich pigmented deep teal shade, which would be great for a smoky eye actually. And then the pop shade is more of a forest green with golden shimmer through it. It is not really a full glitter shade. It has a nice pigmented base green shade to it, a forest green shade, and then the glitter is that golden sheen. This is a nice palette. I like this palette. I will, you know, try it out in a look. I don't think the eyeshadows are the creamiest. They're not the most soft to me. The Tom Ford palette eyeshadows that they're compared to, I don't see the similarities in Tom Ford eyeshadows are so smooth and buttery and creamy. When I used my Tom Ford eyeshadow palette for the first time, I was like, okay, I see what I paid for. You know, I got the quality that I paid for. This palette, there are much better palettes, eyeshadows on the market. My Guerlain eyeshadows I feel are better than this. And these are not like exquisite. They measure up to a typical mid-range eyeshadow. So MAC eyeshadows, I think it, Urban Decay, I think it compares to, but I don't think it really compares to a high-end brand such as Tom Ford. The next palette up is the Sophisticate, which is a all matte neutral palette, which I grabbed this one because it was all matte, and I like to get natural matte shades from different brands. And I'll compare it to my Cocoa Mirage palette from Tom Ford. I love my Tom Ford palette because it has neutral shades, but the colors are a little bit more red toned than the Sophisticate. The Sophisticate has more gray tone shades. I think this is a great neutral matte palette that will work with the rest of the palettes, which is what I did with this look. I kind of used some of these shades as blend-in shades, highlight shades, because I like to mix my textures. I mix my mattes with my shimmer. I do not like a full shimmer eye. It just looks ridiculous. So definitely mix your shimmers with mattes. Mattes can be worn by themselves for a really airbrushed look, but shimmers, don't try it. You're gonna look kind of like a disco ball. It's a very young look, so if you're a young little teenager, that's fine if that's what you want to go for, but it's not a sophisticated look. It just doesn't go. So it's like the ideal name for this palette is the Sophisticate. The first shade is a creamy ivory shade, and it's really creamy and buttery and nicely pigmented. The next shade is a caramel brown shade, which works great as a transition color for me. It's a great blending color. I really love that color. The second shade is a medium tone brown, again a matte finish. It has a little bit of a red undertone, but it's a little bit of a more warm tone brown. And then the last shade is a gray toned brown. So it looks very gray in the palette against the other shade. So you'll see it's a cool tone gray tone brown, and then you have a warmer brown. So I think this palette is a great complement to the other palettes. So if you grab the other palettes, just mix this in with it. You get great blending colors, great smoke out shades, and a great highlight color. So I think this one, I do definitely love this palette. Again, the matte shades, they're creamy and buttery, but they aren't Tom Ford quality. They more fall in line with the other eyeshadows in the mid-end market. So it's up to you if you want to spend the money for it. I think it's a good option to grab though. Then the final eyeshadow palette that I picked up is the Dolce Vita, which is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes right now. And this palette is, I think, a very nice palette. The first shade is a light champagne-y shade, but it has more of a golden undertone than just a plain shimmery champagne shade. And then the second shade is a burnt kind of rusty brown shade. I wouldn't call it like a reddened like a copper shade. Well, it is a copper shade. That's what I was going for. It's like a reddened copper shade. It's very pretty, very smooth. Then the smoke shade, it's a medium deep brown shade with golden shimmer. It isn't as pigmented. It does need a little bit of help to build up, but you know, it's a nice all over shade. And then the pop shade is a more glittery finish than the other two palettes. This one is definitely a glitter shade. This one is a bronzy golden glitter, which actually is pretty. It is very pretty. I have it on the center of my lid in this look, and it worked out pretty well. I thought from what I was hearing that the glitter shades really stick, and they do. The glitter shows up. There's no trouble having the glitter show up on your lids. You don't have to use a mixed and medium, an extra primer, nothing. They actually stick to the lid. It will show up. But there is fallout. There is mega fallout. I thought it was gonna be, you know, not as tricky, but there is fallout. So be mindful of that. Do your eyeshadow look, then do your face makeup after, because there will be fallout from these shades, the glitter shades. So this palette is a nice one to have. There are similar palettes on the market. Like, I don't think any of the shades are that outstanding. I think the glitter shade is the only one that I would say, yeah, that really amps it up a bit. But for you to spend $52 just for that glitter shade, I don't know, it's up to you. But if you don't have these similar shades in your collection, then it may be something for you to try out. So now let's move on to what I think is probably the highlight of the collection for me, and those are the lipstick shades. Now I only grabbed two, but I grabbed a neutral shade because I love nudes, and this is Hepburn Honey, which is a pinky, I'd say a nude, like a peachy nude. Actually, it looks a little bit more pink depending on the liner. So I think this is a great nude shade. The finish is more around, I would say, a satin finish. They aren't completely matte. They have a little bit of a sheen, like a little gloss to them, but they're so creamy, so pigmented. They glide onto the lips. They don't cling to dry patches. They don't bleed. This color is so rich and pretty. It is like a perfect wine, like red, deep red crimson shade, which that's the name of it, Night Crimson. It's such a beautiful shade on my lips. I love this for fall. It makes my teeth look really light. It's so pretty, and I think both these shades are gonna work well for me. The nude shade, I do need to add a little bit of liner just to darken the edges a bit so it doesn't look so washed out and crazy. I am not in love with the packaging because I feel like it should be a little bit more high-end, but they're pretty to look at. They just don't feel luxurious. But the colors, I think these are ones that you should definitely check out. And these are $32 each, which is a typical mid-end range, not mid, like mid-high-end range. So you're thinking Hourglass, Bite Beauty, different lipsticks on the market within that kind of brand range actually have lipsticks that are $30-something. So it's not out of the ballpark crazy with the price. So I think these are more reasonably priced for what they are, and they actually do really make an impression on me. I really love these colors. I also picked up one of the lip pencils, which is the Lip Cheap Reshape and Resize lip liner, and this is in the shade Iconic Nude. The name is not on the pencil itself, so you're just gonna have to memorize it or keep the box around, but it does have a color-coded tip, you know, a little end that's color-coded. So this is in the shade Iconic Nude, which actually goes well with the lipstick that I got, the nude lipstick, the Hepburn Honey. It's a nice natural shade. It's creamy. It goes on very pigmented. It's really pretty. I think I like the lip cheat pencils, and I might grab a couple more. The lip cheat pencils are $22, so they're not too expensive. Again, they're in line with, say, NARS or Urban Decay, Hourglass, Bite Beauty. They are priced that you know, pretty reasonably, so they're not the most expensive, which I was expecting the price line to be a little bit more close to those brands rather than, like, say, Chanel and Dior and those brands. But the color, very nice, really great. It is an iconic nude shade. It is a little bit deep, so if you are lighter, like really pale, this might come off a little bit deep on you, but I think it is a nice color for lining your lips and really cheating the shape, like she says, because to use a darker lip line to outline your lips with a nude lip gives you a fuller pout. So I think the lip cheat and the lipsticks are great finds, and I think they're the standout products for me in the whole brand, and I'd probably pick up a little bit more. I didn't grab anything else from the line because I feel like most of the other products are geared towards paler or lighter skin, and I am happy with my brow pencil, so I'm not going to buy the brow pencil. I'm not going to buy mascara either. And definitely the signature product in the line, or the two signature products in the line, would be Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Cream, but I have oily skin, and that is geared to more dehydrated, dry skin. So if you want to really add glow to your skin and kind of have it recover and look great for makeup, then that's what you would do. But I have oily skin, so I don't have trouble with my skin looking dry and dehydrated, so I did not need to pick that up at all. And then the Film Star Bronze and Glow, it's a very, I've seen it swatched other places, it's a very light not pigmentation, but they're light colors. It's gonna look very ashy on darker skin tone. It even has trouble showing up on very pale skin tone. So I feel like the shades in the Bronze and Glow are definitely not universal. They will not suit darker skin tones. You're just gonna look a little bit too ashy with these colors. They're just too light for darker skin. Even on medium skin and pale skin, they have trouble showing up. So I wasn't going to waste my time or my money to grab that one. So I didn't grab that one. And if you're paler and you have drier skin, then that may be something you want to check out. And there are definite reviews out there that you can check out for that. But for me, they're just not worth it. So I didn't grab those. But overall, I think the line is a little bit hyped up. I don't think it's as great as the hype had it out to be. I think the lipsticks and the lip pencils are great. They're good quality and they're not overly expensive. But I feel like the eyeshadow palettes, while they're decent, they're not blow away products. Like, I'm not like, oh my god, they're so awesome, you have to get them. And I've had experience with great eyeshadows recently, so maybe that's why these didn't blow me away as much. And I don't think they're comparable to Tom Ford at all. They're nice colors, they're nice options, but they're not worth the price to me. And that's my opinion, but I just don't, I feel like I'm gonna return 2 of the blushes because they're not worth it for me to have around. They're very light shades and they're $40 each, so I'm gonna return a couple of those. The eyeshadow palettes I will keep because I do think they're nice. I just don't think they're so extremely awesome that you have to have them. There are other brands on the market that have similar colors that are probably worth more for you to grab. And then besides the actual prices, I don't like the packaging as much as I thought I would. It's just not as luxurious and expensive as the prices make them out to be. So I think the packaging is a little bit, it's a cheaper plastic, it's lightweight, it's not luxurious. And then for the price, I'm just like, really? So, I mean, overall, I think it's a decent brand. I don't think it's one that you have to run out and grab things from. I don't think it's so awesome that you have to grab stuff. There are some standout products. The lip products, like I said, are nice. And from what I can tell, the Magic Cream is something that if you have drier skin, that's something you may want to test out, try out for yourself. Although it is very expensive, so I don't know if it's worth it to you to spend $95 for this cream. But it is her signature product, and I've heard raves and raves about them. So if you want to try that out, I think they have a sample size, maybe not anymore. But that's something you may want to try out. And the Film Star Bronze and Glow, again, a signature product. If you're very pale, then that may be an option for you. But for dark skin, medium skin, just skip that one altogether. So those are my thoughts on the items that I picked up. Again, these are my opinions. They are going to vary from other opinions. But this is just what I think compared to the products that I have, the other eyeshadows I've tested, other blushes that I've tested in my collection, and I have a massive collection. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, if you've purchased anything, and what has your experience been, because I'm curious to know what other people feel about them. I've seen other reviews of people really hyping up the product, and I feel a little jilted when I see different gurus get products sent to them and then they're like, oh my god, it's so glorious, and I'm like, no they're not. So let me know what your experience has been as somebody that's indifferent. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts, and I will talk to you soon. Definitely leave your comments. I want to hear what you guys think. And if you want to see the tutorial for this look, then check below as well in the description. I'm going to try to post them both at the same time so you can go and check out the actual performance of the palette, which it didn't do bad, but I just don't think it's that, you know, phenomenal for you to just spend your money on it. So until my next video, which will be soon, I'll talk to you. Bye.